Hello, in this tutorial I want to explain to you how to install the Metabolab Docker container locally on your machine. There's a couple things you need to do to get started. The first is to install Docker on your host machine, and the second is to download the files that you'll need. So I recommend that you just open a directory where you're happy to put the Metabolab container and then git clone this container. If you do that, you should then end up with a directory containing these files. Particularly important is the Docker file, which controls the Docker image that's created, and also here you have a sample directory. So I recommend that you clone the Docker container and then use the example dataset just to test that everything's working properly. So if we go back there, I'm just going to start the test script running and then I'm going to explain to you what it actually does. Okay, so basically there's a series of steps here that are executed by the script. First of all, the value of the present working directory is stored into a variable pwd. Then you change directory to the directory that contains the Docker file. So this will be different on the path will be different on your host machine. This next line removes any Docker images with the name imeta_image1. It's imeta_image1 because the script was run with the first argument being 1. Okay, so remove any pre-existing Docker images with the name that we want to use in the next step. So here we build a Docker image with the name imeta_image1 using the Docker file in the present working directory. Okay, once you've done that, you can return to the dataset metabolite s1_small and remove any pre-existing Docker containers with the name imeta_container1. And then this final line here, we're going to run an instance of the image. So we use the image imeta_image1 to create an instance of the image called imeta_container1. This bit here is important, and basically what it says is that the present working directory is associated with, or kind of the same as, the location /my_data within the container. And this -w here means that data can be written to and between these two locations. Okay, the script is still running. It takes quite a long time to build the image, and then subsequent processing is actually quite quick. So we'll just have to wait for this to happen. Actually, whilst this is happening, the other thing I'd point out is that when you run a script like the one I just showed you, you need to make sure that the container script is in your present working directory. So the container script is what actually controls how the data is processed, and that needs to be in the directory that becomes associated with /my_data within the Docker container. Let's see if it's still running. It's still creating the image. So we'll just wait a minute. Okay, it seems now that the image is being created, and you can see here Metabolab is actually processing the data. It should be done in a few more seconds. Okay, so if we look in this directory, we should see that a whole new series of files, output files, have been created. So the top one here is Brooker process data files. This is a small mat file which is suitable for use in Matlab in its PLS toolbox for processing multivariate data. This file contains data ready for analysis in Batman if you want to work out some metabolite intensities. The next 4 files are isotab files ready to submit to metabolites. And finally, the large file at the bottom is a mat file which you might want to use in MATLAB, or you might want to use in the full graphical user interface version of Metabolab. There's a lot more information about how to control the scripting in another video tutorial I've done. But I think this just about concludes this brief explanation of how to get an instance of the Docker image for Metabolab running on your local computer. Thank you.